Hey everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to the Division 2. And today, as you might have heard, we now have companion NPCs within the game. They have been a controversial addition, to say the least, between the fact that they are a temporary implementation into the game. Many have brought into question their effectiveness within combat, and much more. And I intend on diving into more of those discussion points in future videos. However, these things are here, and the entire companion system is very core to this season of the game. So, in light of that, I wanted to put together a comprehensive guide explaining the entire system. We're going to cover companions themselves, explain how they fit into this season's modifiers, and provide some tips and build recommendations. Hopefully that sounds good. Do note that there are timestamps listed in the description below to take you to each and every section of the guide. As we dive in, if you do enjoy the video and you want to catch more of my coverage on the Division 2 moving forward, then be sure to subscribe. Shout out and thank you to our channel members for your ongoing support of my work. Genuinely, I would not be able to do what I do without your support, so thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get to this. So, to begin, how do I unlock a companion? Where do I get started? When you first log on to the new season, on your map within DC, there will be an open world objective marked called a Mutiny Hotspot. This is located just outside the entrance to Dark Zone East. It's in the same location for everybody. You're going to want to travel to this location, and this is essentially just a very brief, dedicated introductory mission for the season. It's here that you'll get to save and recruit your first companion. Once all of the enemies are defeated, you want to approach the True Son's defector, and you'll receive a UI prompt to recruit them. Upon doing so, congratulations, you've now unlocked your first Assault Archetype companion. Afterwards, the game will try and give you a bunch of tutorial panes to explain the overall system, but you can skip right on past those as that is what you have me for. So, there you have it, you've now got a companion that will follow you around into any content that seasonal modifiers are permitted within. As a quick note, if at any point you wish not to have a companion with you, you can either go in and disable your global modifier altogether, though I do not really recommend this as you lose out on those aforementioned passive buffs as well as your season pass XP boost. The better way to do it is to simply go in and unequip your active modifier, as this is how you swap between which companion class you have with you. So, you've got your companion. What now? Let's quickly cover some functionality and mechanics. Firstly, your companion will automatically spawn in and follow you around anywhere you go. At any time, you can check their status on the right side of your HUD. The symbol you'll see is to denote which class they are. Their health and armor bar is visible here. And then this overall bar that you're looking at will slowly fill up in gameplay. This all ties into the companion's active ability, which we'll touch more on in a moment. There are 3 commands that you can give your companion at any given time. All of these are tied into one singular input on controller that's up on the D-pad. The first one is that aiming at a target and hitting that button will command the companion to focus fire on that enemy. Secondly, when within cover, an indicator will appear on nearby cover, and it allows you to tell your companion to go and take that defensive position. Finally, only once it's ready, you can hold that same input button to use that companion's active ability. Again, more on that in a moment. One tip I will give is that if you find your companion being unresponsive at times, especially when it comes to them taking cover and they're just not doing it, don't be afraid to spam that command button. By default now, I kind of just mash mine whenever I want him to go somewhere, and it usually works out pretty okay. On a similar note, your companion can revive you if you get downed. That is definitely one perk to running them, is that you essentially get a free revive hive with no cooldown. Sometimes they can either get thrown off their trajectory or just distracted in general. Similar tip here, if they're taking a while to revive you, just mash that call for help button, and even if they get staggered or set on fire or whatever, eventually they will retract and still pick you up. So, that is the moment-to-moment gameplay with your companion, but how about upgrades to make them more powerful or recruiting different companions altogether? Each companion class has 3 total levels that you can progress through. You can track your progress on that as well as view the unlocked perks for them within your active modifier menu. This XP and progression is just gained passively as you play with a given companion class. There's nothing specific that you have to do. It is important to note that levels gained are not companion specific, rather they are class specific, meaning if I were to get level 2 with my spearhead companion and then I go out and find a new spearhead with different traits that I want to swap out for, you will not lose your upgrade progress by doing that. You just need to individually rank up each of the 3 different classes, otherwise everything transfers over. Since we mentioned them, let's cover recruitment and traits. After that initial mutiny hotspot mission, anytime you have your modifiers enabled, you have a chance to come across new companions out in the open world. Sometimes they will appear in the heat of battle, show up to assist, and afterwards you can approach them to consider recruitment. You can also sometimes just find them chilling within safe houses. Be sure to look around before sprinting out of one that you fast travel to. What you'll see when you approach a new companion is firstly what class they are, either assault, engineer, or medic, as well as what traits they come with. Now, traits are a pool of attributes and bonuses that companions are assigned, basically just talents. Each companion comes with 2 randomly assigned traits, meaning each one that you come across will have a brand new and random role. Lucky for us, fellow content creator and community member Virtuals has put together a very handy chart outlining many of the traits that you'll see in game. You may recall that we took a look at some of his charts for retaliations last season. Very helpful work that he's doing, so shout out to him. I'll link his channel in the description. I definitely encourage you to go over, give him thanks for his efforts. Now, I said many of the traits because I've actually seen 1 or 2 that are not listed on this chart. For instance, there's one called Glass Operator that I believe is an assault class specific. What you see in this chart though is the vast majority of them, so don't worry too much. What you'll note is that each trait has a colored icon next to it. In the bottom right is where you can see that each icon and color corresponds to one of the 3 classes. So, while many of the traits can roll on any of the 3 classes, you'll see that some are specific to certain classes. For now, I just wanted to show and explain what traits are. A little later in the video is when we will circle back to specific traits that I recommend keeping an eye out for. But if you want to refer back to this resource at any time, feel free to screenshot. So, back on the topic of recruitment, maybe you come across a companion with a really nice trait combo and you're like, sweet, I want this one. So, for example, if you had a medic with efficient operator and high profile, but then you come across a medic with frag expert and triage trained, and you want that new one, just know that you will lose access to that other companion and its trait role. It's just something to keep in mind. There are benefits to you recruiting more and more companions, however, so let's take a look at that next. So, while our companions and the modifiers this season are kind of one and the same, it is important to remember that the modifiers also contain a lot of extra layers here that are very important to know. So, let's take a look at the global modifier here called Command Link. Command Link turns you and your True Son's companion into a coordinated fire team. Each teamwork action grants Command Link points, applies a short combat buff, and charges your companion's active ability. When the meter is full, hold input to deploy it. So remember that meter and ability that we were referring to earlier? This is where all of that comes into play. By commanding and cooperating with your companion, you can trigger a number of these teamwork actions and receive both buffs for yourself and raise your companion's ability meter. As you can see, there are 6 of these in total. Some are very simple, like Buddy Aid, which just involves you reviving your companion or your companion reviving you. I encourage you to take the time to read through these to gain an understanding of what they are, how they perform, and what buffs you get. I'll highlight Crossfire Kill, as in my playtime so far, I found this to be the easiest and most consistent action to trigger. It reads, you or your companion kill an enemy after you have both dealt damage to it, grants 25% crit hit damage for 10 seconds, awards 40 command link points. The reason why I say it's easy is that if you notice your companion targeting and shooting an enemy, all you have to do is quickly flick over, shoot and kill them, and bam, you get a crossfire kill. This also awards you the highest amount of command link points for a combat action, and that means that you're very quickly able to build up that active ability. This is where the 3 unique companion classes come into play, because while there are some more subtle differences between the classes, stuff like different trait options, different primary weapons that they carry, different base stats, the highlight difference between the 3 is their active ability. The Assault can fire off an RPG. This also gives you a 15% damage to targets out of cover buff for 10 seconds. The Engineer places down a turret that lasts for 20 seconds, also gives you a 15% skill damage buff for that duration. Finally, the Medic drops a support station. It has a 7-meter radius, and it heals, cleanses status effects, and will revive you if you go down for the 20 seconds that it lasts. It also then provides you a 15% armor on kill buff for the duration. Each of these abilities has a different command link cost. The Assault's RPG is 100, the Engineer's turret is 70, the Medic's support station is 80. So going by that crossfire kill value of 40, doing just 2 of those is going to give you enough points to activate a turret or a support station if you're on those classes. Supplementing that with pretty much any of the other actions would then give you enough to activate the RPG. It all comes down to how you play, what sort of actions you want to prioritize in combat, and what companion class you want to use. But it's important to understand how that whole system functions so that you can make those choices. The other very vital component to point out from the global modifier is your passive recruit bonuses. This is an entirely new bit for this that was added after the PTS. You'll see it when you scroll down a bit further, and it reads as follows. While the global modifier is active, recruited companions grant passive bonuses even when no companion is spawned. These bonuses are doubled when the player has no active companions. What does this mean? Well, not only are you encouraged to continue recruiting new companions, as this will build up an increasing stat buff, but it also means that the devs heard the feedback about the people who did not want to interact with the companion feature this season, and how in turn they would essentially be getting no bonuses from the modifiers, because as this outlines, the bonuses listed are doubled if you intentionally unequip a companion. Pretty wild. So you need to recruit a total of 10 companions per class to max out each bonus, meaning if you're somebody who does not want to engage with the system overall, just recruit 10 of them and then you're done. As you can see, each recruitment offers you 1.5% weapon damage per assault, 2% hazard protection per medic, and 1.5% skill efficiency per engineer. Very interesting design choice that they made here, and I could totally see a lot of people reliving those Year 7 Season 1 fantasies of the no bleed backfire meta by taking advantage of that free 40% hazard when you have no companion active. As with each new season, there's also a selection of hostile and passive modifiers to be aware of. This time around, they do play directly into the companion system. For hostile modifiers, per usual, these are viewable within the modifier menu. Just click your left stick on controller. As always, it is recommended to read through these so that you have an understanding of what you're facing in combat. Especially this time around, a lot of these feature high amounts of damage resistance, which can be broken by performing certain teamwork actions like crossfire kills. One that I wanted to particularly highlight though is called Jammer, and it reads, hidden enemy who slows command link gain minus 50% and disables passive modifiers until found and eliminated. To counter, command your companion to attack or close in to reveal the jammer, eliminate to restore abilities and gain 35% skill haste for 25 seconds. On kill, triggers a 15-meter EMP blast. I wanted to shout this one out because I think it can be quite detrimental if not dealt with, right? It completely disables your passive modifiers. Also, it may end up causing some confusion if you feel like your link is building up slowly, you're wondering what's going on. It's very likely that there's a jammer nearby, so just keep that in mind. As far as passive modifiers, there are 18 in total this season, quite a lot. We will get into recommendations shortly, but for now I did want to point out that the way that you unlock these is via the seasonal journey. Once you're in here, if you look on the left side, tiers 3 through 7 unlock various bundles of them. The journey is quite easy. This time around, I got mine done mostly entirely passively, just by playing with a companion enabled on launch day. So yeah, don't sweat it too much, shouldn't take you too long. Additionally, with the recent changes, you can now do these chapters in any order, so if there is a particular passive modifier that you want to unlock, just find out which chapter rewards it and target those objectives. Alright, now the final bit of information within this guide that I wanted to briefly go over is covering how companions work within co-op play. We've been doing this guide almost completely from the perspective of playing solo, but what if you're on a team? Well, the co-op rules are covered within the global modifier description at the very bottom, if you ever want to refer back to them. But in essence, per usual, the team leader has control over whether modifiers, and in turn companions, are active or not. Assuming they are enabled, not every team member can have their companion active at the same time, meaning no teams of 8. Sorry. Instead, only one companion can be active at a time. However, each team member still gets the opportunity to use theirs and benefit from the stat buffs that the teamwork actions provide. Assuming your companion is not currently active, you will see a cooldown on the companion UI next to your HUD. This represents the cooldown remaining until you have the opportunity to summon your specific companion. Once available, available. This can be done by pressing the same input button for all other companion commands. The cooldown on this is 90 seconds, starting from when somebody else summons their companion. So the general flow in multiplayer is going to be pretty regular hop in, hop out of the various companions throughout combat. Once you do have the opportunity to summon, it will bring in whichever class you have selected via your active modifier. It'll have all the same traits you've recruited, all of that. Something important to note, though, is that all teammates can benefit from the teamwork action buffs as laid out in the global modifier. So if somebody performs a crossfire kill, a buddy revive with your companion, they will get those stat buffs too. Also, passive modifiers that you have equipped will benefit whichever companion is currently summoned, even if it's not yours. Ultimately, what this means is that even if your companion is not currently on the field, you can very much engage and benefit from the system in co-op. In pre-made groups, there's definitely a level of coordination and strategy that could come into play about which passive modifiers the team wants to stack across each player, and during which engagements you may want to summon your specific companion and class. Alright, that should cover just about every detail and feature connected to the overall companion system. I did want to end this video off by providing you with some of my recommendations, right? There's a lot of decisions to be made here, which companion class to run, what traits to look out for, what passive modifiers to run, how do I make a build that synergizes well with all of this. Let me be clear that I'm sure there are countless cool combinations, loadouts, and overall tactics to use. I 100% encourage and anticipate reading about your own tips and recommendations in the comments below. There's also a variety of factors that would change depending on what your playstyle is. Are you a sniper player, a skill build? Are you playing on challenging versus legendary? So my recommendations here will not be able to cover every single angle, but as you've seen in the gameplay, if you are interested in taking companions for a spin within higher end content, namely legendary, and if you're a fan of high damage kind of AR or LMG builds, then let me show you what I'm rocking with. I think I found a pretty cool loadout. I'm using the Assault class, which honestly, between pretty thoroughly testing all three, I think this is the best choice for solo play. Engineers and medics seem to fit a bit better into the more methodical gameplay style, or if you're playing within co-op, but for me, I tend to be a bit more aggressive, and I think Assault works really well. Not only is the RPG nice, but that damage to targets out of cover bonus you get when it's activated is too good to pass up. As far as traits to look out for, and this goes for whichever class you end up using, I cannot recommend high profile enough. This one is available on all three classes, and it grants your companion plus 50% threat generation and 50% armor. For me, I want my companion to essentially be a glorified decoy, right? I want them to get out front, soak aggro and damage while I shoot from behind. This trait makes that so much easier to pull off, so I highly recommend that. For my passive modifiers, there are two that are unlikely to change for me throughout the season. Firstly, Shock and Advance rewards consistent active ability usage with a rate of fire buff for you and the companion. It's super nice. It's pretty easy to spam too with the Assault's RPG. And then Adrenaline Response, in my opinion, is the best defensive and self-sustain modifier on offer for the companion. If they start getting blasted, they get to heal up and get a DPS boost. So voila. As for the third slot, honestly, this is up to you. I think there are a few different good choices. Command Discipline is pretty nice to extend that damage to targets out of cover bonus. Priority Channel helps you make that proc more consistent. Locked In is nice if you're feeling a little bit lucky. Any of those are good, but let me know what you think you might choose. As far as what build I'm pairing this all with, again, it is intended primarily to handle legendary difficulty content. I've been having a lot of success with Negotiator's Dilemma and the blue screen. The word's been out for quite a while now that the blue screen is a fantastic crowd control tool. It really locks down a room, which is very helpful against the White Tusk. By using Negotiators, we get to multi-shot and engage multiple targets at once. And part of my reasoning here for using that, remember that crossfire kill teamwork action? The one that requires you and your companion to have damaged a target to qualify? Well, Negotiators lets me damage a ton of targets all at once, meaning that almost regardless of who my companion is targeting, I get credit for it. It's made for some moments where I'm able to get back-to-back RPG procs, which is super fun. Don't forget that you also get free crit damage from that teamwork action, and that plays right back into my Negotiator's damage. So yeah, this build has been super fun. I went with the new Equalizer named Chess Piece and the Centurion's Holster Forester as my exotic. I know a lot of people may choose Overdogs. Honestly though, with how many heavies and warhounds I'm targeting in Legendary, I just felt like it was inactive too often. Centurions is a bit more consistent. It procs regularly when I throw out my decoy, so pretty nice synergy there. Like I said, I've been having a lot of fun with this setup, but let me know what you've been using or how you might switch this one up. All right, everybody. Well, there you have it. That is the guide on companions. This video ended up being a lot longer than I intended, but I guess that's what happens when you try to be thorough. I really hope this one helped out, aided in explaining what the new companion system is in a bit more of a straightforward manner. If you still have any questions about anything regarding companions, feel free to leave it down below. Additionally, I would love to get your thoughts on just about anything, whether it's the companions overall, the modifiers, your specific kits and loadouts that you've been running. Let me know what you're thinking. That is going to do it for me on this one, though. Thank you all very much for coming and watching, and until the next one, RogueGold out.